and I am here with Kayla today. Super excited to talk to you about the Niagara market.
Niagara region has experienced a 2% increase in the HPI composite benchmark price, which is indicating an increase in consumer confidence. Anecdotally, we are seeing this with our clients as well. We are seeing a lot of buyers come out of the woodworks, but also a lot of sellers who are seeing maybe this window of opportunity. So this is actually gutted to the studs right now. Handyman special, sold as is, all that good stuff. 4 separate hydrometers, legal 4-unit, drawings attached with proposed floor plans, all 2 beds, parking in the back, basement was waterproof, sump pump was installed. This is a big project. This is definitely for someone who has done this type of thing before, but it's literally a blank canvas ready to go. This one is in a similar area. So $299. This is a 3-bed, 2-bath. It's zoned R2, which allows for multi-unit.
Welcome everyone to the Canadian Real Estate Channel. My name is Carina Guzman, known as the Land Development Queen, and I am here with Kayla today. Super excited to talk to you about the Niagara market. Hi Kayla, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Doing great.
Awesome. Let us dive right in here. We got a few deals, we got some stats, we got some Niagara news, which I know people are interested in. So let's
dive
right in. Okay. So the stats are from April. Obviously we're only halfway through May here. So in April, the Niagara Association of Realtors listed 991 residential properties compared to 1,382 in April of 2022. And the average days it took to sell a home in April 2023 was 31 compared to 14 in 2022. Caveat, average is not a good measure, so I will talk about the median a bit later. But the good news, Niagara region has experienced a 2% increase in the HPI composite benchmark price. The HPI composite is just like an average home. They just take it from homes that are more representation of what's in the area, which is indicating an increase in consumer confidence. Anecdotally, we are seeing this with our clients as well. We are seeing a lot of buyers come out of the woodworks, but also a lot of sellers who are seeing maybe this window of opportunity. And the amount of sales remained the same from March 2023 to April 2023, but with 10 less average days on market. And there were 6.9 less new listings in April than in March, which is usually we're seeing a bit of an uptick here. And the buyers are there. They want to buy, as indicated by the decrease in the average days on market, increase in price in 1 month, and the same amount of sales with less listings available.
Nice.
Yes.
So it looks like it's kind of like lower than last year is what you're saying.
Yeah. So obviously last year, this wasn't, we're not far enough in the year where we saw the interest rates take a massive hit on the real estate market. It was still fairly busy at this time. And this was also a time where sellers were seeing the interest rates start to climb. So a lot of people were listing because they wanted to get in before the prices started to dip, because that was kind of everyone's, they had their crystal ball and it happened. So people were trying to get those, December, January prices before they disappeared.
Right. Yeah. But then it's also sitting a little bit longer on the market. Yeah. Because the interest rates have gone up.
Yeah. People are not immune to how high they are, me included, all of us included, I think. But definitely more investors coming into the market again. I think we're all starting to feel a bit more comfortable with what's happening. We do think eventually the rates will drop. So buying now when the prices are a bit lower is definitely an ideal situation. So this is that new listing stats I was talking about. This is just for our board, so the Niagara Association of Realtors, but So this would have been it's about a year of stats, just over. So in January of 2022, we were seeing a lack of new listings. Obviously, that's just seasonality. Every year we see this. We saw it this year as well. And if you look at the 10-year graph, it looks somewhat the same. We hit this peak here about halfway through the year. And then we just, as the interest rates started to go up and the prices started to go down, less people were super interested in listing their homes.
Yeah.
And then we did see this slight decrease, which is a bit of an anomaly. In previous years, we're always seeing it do this. Mm-hmm. Other than when COVID came onto the scene, obviously everyone kind of stopped everything, but it is an interesting little bubble. I suspect we'll see that go up for May, but it is interesting to see that people have pulled back a bit on the listing side. But a lot of people do like to wait till the flowers are out and their house looks the best and that type of thing. So it could have something to do with that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right. So median sales price, I use median just because we do have a lot of outliers in the Niagara region, such as Niagara on the Lake being one of them. Those houses sell for millions and millions of dollars, but aren't exactly a great representation. So again, you can see we were kind of at the peak of everything here. And then we had a very rapid decline all the way down to the bottom here. But we are having a slow uptick here, stayed the same here, and then shot right up. So this is about a $30,000 difference here, just for reference, which is pretty substantial month over month. And of course it does, there is an impact depending on what type of houses are selling. But it is still a pretty good sign of a rebound for, from here.
Yeah. I wonder also if it's because the spring market, right? It's part of that whole cycle.
Yeah, so it does look like this. Again, if you go back 10 years, you'll see it always goes up and then down, because during this time, despite the fact that there's also not a ton of listings, there's not a ton of buyers. So things tend to, they tend to sit. You tend to have a little more negotiating power, and also still interest rates quite high. With no signal of it stopping quite yet. We get a signal that it's going to slow down, and we start to see this as well. So I think it's a combination of a few things, but it is definitely a good insight to the fact that, there is that buyer confidence there again.
Yeah.
And then,
I think people's benchmark of the interest rates have adjusted. It's like a big shocker when you see these interest rates going up, but then eventually it's like your mental benchmark just adjusts to what it is, and people are getting just used to that number now.
Yeah, I agree. Like, definitely with our clients, they're feeling a little more confident with the approvals that they have now, with the idea that hopefully it's not going to change too much. Like, obviously the people that bought during the low interest rate were feeling that, because the mortgages have doubled, and if not more than that. Yeah. But for the people that, especially first-time investors and first-time buyers who can kind of see the prices are lower and the interest rates are higher, but in a lot of cases, the payments are working out to be less. So, and your down payment is less too, obviously. So it's a tough situation, but I think there's some good in it. And this is why I said too, like the average days on market, not exactly the best representation, because you have these homes that sit forever because they're $6 million and there's only one buyer in the world for them. Whereas here, the median is a much better representation. The 19 days, I would say, is a pretty good, accurate benchmark for that, because we're seeing a mixture of two things. One, people pricing, kind of just above what they're looking for, and it's sitting for about, 2, 3, 4 weeks, and then they're getting just below that. And on the flip side, we're seeing a lot of holding offers coming back to the market. So I think it's a combination of both of those things. And again, seasonality as well. However, this is the inverse of that, but it usually looks a bit more like this.
Right. So that's good. That just means that our market is just kind of getting back to quote unquote normal, in the sense of the cyclical aspect of it, because we had so much for 2 years of this weird, crazy COVID, like things were not making sense. So now it's just kind of like going back to what you would normally see.
Yes, yes, which is nice. Like it's easier to help buyers and sellers in a market where we have statistics that are familiar versus these 2 to 3 years where everyone was kind of like, you know, we could base it off of what was happening now. So we were able to assist those people buying now. But for the people that are wanting kind of like a future outlook, it was getting a bit difficult because for a lot of it didn't make a ton of sense in terms of how, you know, how high the prices went and stuff, how quickly, and then how fast they dropped.
I like what you said though, Kayla, because like I get this question asked all the time. They're like, well, how do you deal with these crazy interest rates that have just gone up? Like, what do you suggest? And my only, I guess, strategy around that is buy lower. Like, yes, the rates have gone up, but it doesn't mean that you have to buy something that is just at the highest end point, right? So you can buy lower or negotiate that, right? And it's kind of like right now, especially, everybody is feeling like we're going to go into a real estate bust, you know, like there's going to be a big crash happening. Well, and I don't know if that is the case or not, but I feel like this is a time where you could negotiate, right? Because things are so up in the air. Everything is so new. So why not negotiate a lower price that can at least get you what you said is like the same payment, what you would normally have, even with the high interest rates. So I like what you said there.
And I'm glad that you said that because we're going to jump into some deals. So these are all listed right now. And the interesting thing about all of these, the price point on these is quite low in comparison to what we would have seen way back when. The rents actually increased from March to April, and there is a possibility for positive cash flow now. There's a possibility for burrs on some of these. I have some flips in here, and that's now with the interest rates being high. And what we're doing is every time we're running numbers with a client, we're saying, okay, so let's anticipate interest rates are here and run it off of these numbers. So then we are also looking at different exit strategies as well. So if, you know, gosh forbid that things started to climb again, which we've heard some, you know, some chatter about, I don't suspect it will go anywhere much higher, but anyways, it would still cash flow in those scenarios. So this one specifically, I don't know if you saw this one on Instagram yesterday because everyone was posting about it. Legal triplex in Niagara for under 500,000. So I went through this yesterday. It's not perfect by any means, but it needs some work, but it is legal. And I would argue that it is a 4-bed, and 2 1-beds, just because the 2-bed apartment that they're referring to would eliminate a living room. But the 4-bedroom apartment, which is the main floor, is basically ready to go. Like a few cosmetic rentals that I would do, but otherwise they have replaced the floors. The windows are 90% vinyl, so you don't really have to worry about those. They are separately metered, so it's boiler heat, but you then press like the AC, the tenants would be covering that because it would be a window unit or like a standing unit. And you have, so this is close to Brock, so it's in Thorold. Lots of families renting here, single, young professionals. So there's a bunch of different tenant demographics here. A lot of our units are in Thorold, and we have never, ever had a bad issue with a tenant. And the basement on this one, it was definitely grandfathered in because it doesn't meet necessarily the height restrictions that we have now when we're doing a legal basement unit. But there's definitely the right person. The basement would need the most renos. It's quite dated. And then upstairs is basically ready to go as well for the 1-bed upstairs. $499 price point. Taxes are actually fairly low for Thorold. And there is a garage in the backyard. I would say it's probably a tear down, but there is an opportunity to rebuild. The actual foundation of the garage looks okay. So this one to me is like a very, very good deal. This is insane for Thorold. It's in a nice neighborhood, and it is legal and it is separately metered. So, and they're not holding offers on this one.
Oh, nice. Yeah, it's really cool. I think you can upsize that. Do you happen to know the lot size?
Oh, I didn't have it here. I can, yeah. So I'll post it in the comments for everyone.
Yeah.
This is just that it's just below that.
Yeah.
The other interesting thing about this is it says Thorold South. It's not in Thorold South.
Okay.
It's in Thorold downtown. So Thorold South is a little more out of the way, which would make this less desirable for, let's say, Brock students. But where this actually is quite desirable. This isn't my listing, but they're having issues with neighborhoods right now. So something to pay attention to if you're on Matrix or in Realtor.
The reason why I asked for that is because when you said the separate garage in the back, immediately I'm thinking tiny home or like a coach home or a laneway home. You can maybe convert that into something like that. You know, all municipalities allow for that as well. So you can really upsize that.
And there's the garage is quite like, it's a double garage. And then behind that, there's like another 10 feet of backyard. So there's no shortage of lot. And like I said, I will post it in the comments, the lot size.
Nice.
All right. So this one needs a lot of work. So this is on Pelham. Pelham is kind of like an up and coming area, still close to Brock. You still get students here. The interesting thing about this one is obviously the price point. It would be private financing on this one. It is completely gutted inside. But for those looking for maybe their first flip, the price point's desirable. And there is money to be made on this. It's 900 square feet, so it's not tiny. You have 3 beds, 1 bath. You could probably do something with the basement. This one is holding offers, but I still think depending on where it goes, this could be a good deal for, or even people looking for single family burrs, this would work for that as well.
Nice. And it has access to all of that: highway, hospital, restaurants. Like, that's amazing.
Very close to everything.
Amenities, right? When I look at things, I'm like, what's around it? What are the amenities, right? Because people need to want to live here.
Yeah, absolutely. So this has a few different options. And then it's also not too far from the train station that was all the rave about 2 years ago to get to Toronto. So you're definitely close to a lot of things. This one is in a similar area. So $299. This is a 3-bed, 2-bath. It's a much bigger house. So you have about 1,700 square feet. It does allow for, it's zoned R2, which allows for multi-unit. And there is a massive garage. Massive. And it already has hydro, which, you know, you kind of save some of the money there running the utilities, unless it needs to be upgraded. But this one, price point is great. Location is good. Few different options here, and it does need some work inside, but I do believe this one would allow for bank financing. It's not inhabitable at this point. So definitely lower price point options here. And then this one, similar idea. So this is actually gutted to the studs right now. Handyman special, sold as is, all that good stuff. 4 separate hydrometers, legal 4-unit, drawings attached with proposed floor plans, all 2 units, or sorry, all 2 beds, all 4 of them. Parking in the back, basement was waterproof, sump pump was installed. This is a big project. This is definitely for someone who has done this type of thing before, but it's literally a blank canvas ready to go.
Wow.
So
that's insane. So they just stopped.
Yeah, it could have been a situation where, you know, sometimes people don't want to get into the work. I've been there. And they are willing to offload it for a price that makes sense. The ARV on this, the after renovation value, I can't see being less than $800,000.
I was just going to ask you that.
Yeah. And for a 2-bed, depending on the size, of course, but you can get anywhere from $1,500 to $1,800. So you can see that the cash flow potential is there as well.
Right. So this is a single family, right? Or is there a potential for like an SDU or something like that?
So this one is actually a 4-unit.
Oh, okay. 4-unit. Okay. I must miss it. That's awesome.
Yeah. So it's I went through the drawings. The drawings are each unit is 2 bedrooms.
Wow.
Oh,
that's amazing.
Yeah, it's definitely a good property, and it's vacant. So if someone's like, you know, itching for a project now, I'm sure they would be very happy to let it go fairly quickly. Taxes are a little bit higher here, but you are working with quite a lot of square footage. So your taxes are $39.29, but your square footage is $25.86. It's in a great part of the city, close to downtown, very walkable, R2 zoning, so it's already there, and it does have 4 separate hydro meters.
Is that the highest density that it allows, the R2 zoning? Like would that
Yeah, so R2 is up to 4. With the new rules, you know, it's kind of up in the air, but St. Catharines actually is going through some zoning stuff too. But if anyone wants the zoning document, I'm happy to send it. It's fairly user friendly. All right, let us jump into some news. So this is from Welland. So state-of-the-art facility for electric vehicle parts coming to Welland. So for any investors that are familiar with Welland, you have this little pocket in Welland. They're saying that it's probably going to go across the street from that. So it's Iron Street, Ontario Street. It's not known for being the best area just because it's sitting across from just like an empty field. That's not necessarily the most desirable, and it's a bit of an eyesore. But this is proposed to go there. So what this will do is, one, you're going to have an influx of renters to that area because you're going to have a lot of people that are working at this facility. I'm assuming people will be coming from out of town to work here as well, because usually these types of jobs are at least reasonably high paying. And what it will start to do is turn around the area as well, because you're going to have this brand new, beautiful facility. As much as it is, you know, a bit industrial, I think it's still really going to make a big difference for that area. And there's a lot of multiplexes in that area, like tons. That's basically all it is. So I think that this is really going to help that area of Welland that maybe hasn't had the help it needs so far.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it makes sense that they would pick this area as you're describing it, because obviously it needs to have that industrial zone that would allow for it, easy access to the highway, and enough, or at least some accommodations, right, for these specific people working here to live.
Yeah,
so
I think
it's a lot of sense. And it's going to trickle down. What ends up happening is when they create these facilities and they're so massive, right, and it's just a lot of traffic and everything, naturally it's going to happen. All of the jobs and everything around it is going to trickle down to the neighboring areas.
Yeah.
Right? So you're going to see that push in demand just all over around those areas, just for the nature of this thing coming in. So that's really cool.
I'm hoping this is like what prompts the facelift of downtown Welland. No offense to downtown Welland, but it could use some love. We saw it happen in St. Catharines, where now St. Catharines downtown is so nice. They've built all these new restaurants and these performing arts center and the arena and all of these things. So I'm hoping that with all of these massive investments into Welland, that will start to happen as well. So thought this was neat. I know there's a lot of investors in here that are very bullish with Welland just because their zoning and stuff is pretty favorable. So I wanted to definitely bring this up. And then latest economic update shows good economic performance in Niagara. So I wanted to bring this up because one of the more frequent questions that we get asked is, you know, how's the economy? Where do people work? How do people make money? All of these different things. So the first stat was that the household disposable income, which we know is very important because that's how people invest into other businesses and all of that, grew 9% from the first quarter of 2021 compared to the last of 2022, and is expected to grow an additional 6% by 2024. Now, we are still a little bit behind the Ontario average, but we need to keep in mind that that includes Toronto and like our bigger cities. So that is an important metric. And then we also gained net 1,066 new businesses. So very cool metric. We are big proponents of like local businesses, and the fact that we're seeing more and more and more come to the area is good news for everyone. This is my favorite one, and one I think we can maybe discuss is unemployment is actually at a historic low of about 5% for Niagara, dropping from 13.4% at the beginning of 2021. Now, obviously, we had some COVID stuff at play there. We do have to keep in mind seasonality at the beginning of the year, and then now we have, you know, landscapers and stuff are back in the employment market. But that is a huge stat in terms of what's happening in Niagara, the jobs that are being created, how many people are working in the area. And, you know, especially for people that own rental properties here, people are working and able to pay, you know, good rent for where they're living as long as they're being offered a good product.
Yeah, exactly. And all of those new businesses that just opened,
Mm.
right? They're just going to create more employment for
Yeah.
people, and then hopefully that'll stimulate everything in that area. So that's amazing.
Yeah, and there's also a lot of grants in the area. They are creating them what seems daily for these new businesses. So I think if anyone's thinking about opening a business, that's definitely something to check out is these grants, because there's so many of them that I think people are not aware of. Like I used to work for the Ministry of Training Colleges and Universities, which it's not called that now. But even through there's a ton of employment grants. Like if someone's hiring a summer student or something like that, or need to train their staff. So anyways, if anyone has questions about that, I'm also happy to answer it. The last little note that I thought was kind of fun, and just to poke fun at the Bank of Canada, because that's what everyone's doing. So Niagara's economic growth, they say, looks very positive, but the Bank of Canada could play a role in this depending on what they do with their interest rates. So like everything else, it will be interesting to see how these numbers look when they do the 2024 update for 2023. But as long as we stay stable-ish with interest rates, I think we're only going to see positive things happen in Niagara. So
Amazing.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's optimistic.
Yeah, it's a good place to be. I'm biased. I live here, but there is a lot happening. So that's all of these stats were very good to read.
Yeah, I love Niagara. I go there every year. We have a conference that we go to every single year. I bring my boys with me. Like, I mean, as a tourist, like I feel like I'm a tourist there. I love it there, and just the vibe, and it's just a really nice place for families, I feel like. Every time I go there, it's just the boys love to go, and there's all these like resorts, right? Like the Great Wolf Lodge and all of these things that are just like amazing. Like we don't even have like little things like that here, and I live in Ottawa, and it's just something that adds value, you know, to entertainment, to fun as a family unit, to have those things. We even meet friends out there. Like this is so it's really cool for me to hear you speak about Niagara, because we've had such a great experience every time I go there.
It's a good place to travel when you don't want to go too far, and there is lots to do. And like Clifton Hill might be, you know, corny or whatever, but everyone loves it. Kids love it. It's fun. And then there's so many other interesting parts of it that I think people are just starting to catch on to. Like Niagara Falls isn't the only place people are visiting now. So that's that, guys.
That's amazing. Super. I love this, Kayla, a lot. And really interesting. I just wanted to kind of recap that little bit of grants that you're talking about. It would be interesting to see, like I'm in the development space, and just you talking about how there's so many businesses coming in, there's a lot of growth that you're seeing, the industrial facility that's coming in that's going to bring a lot of jobs. I'm interested to see with the growth in the development aspect, how the municipality of Niagara is working maybe with some of these grants to incentivize some of this development, right? Because it looks to me like housing will be required, and it is required already. And it's just going to get worse in that area, seeing all of these, growth going on. So definitely something to speak to Kayla about, guys, because she's talking about these grants. Those are the best incentives to take a hold of. And that could either be business grants or development grants. So building more housing might be a possibility that you can look into with Kayla, because I think these are those, we're at this specific spot in life where we can take these opportunities.
Absolutely.
It is when the growth is happening that you need to look at different aspects of real estate that could add so much benefit to your growth, in your wealth growth.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree.
Absolutely. Love this call, Kayla. Really great to meet you. And guys, please follow Kayla. And you can always reach me as well, the Land Development Queen, if you have any development questions. And we will see you guys at the next episode. Thank you so much, Kayla.
Thank you.
Take care.
You too. Bye.